Welcome to Ohio Roots, the official podcast of the Ohio Genealogical Society. Join us as we embark on a captivating journey through Ohio's rich genealogy, history, and abundant resources. Hosted by me, OGS Executive Director Noel Poirier, this podcast brings you insightful conversations with a diverse array of guests, from OGS members, chapter leaders, and staff to renowned genealogists, historians, and influential figures within the genealogical community. Each episode delves into fascinating topics and captivating stories. So grab your headphones, hit that play button, and join us on this enthralling journey of Ohio's roots. My guest on this episode of the Ohio Roots podcast is Todd Kleismit. Todd is the Executive Director of the Ohio Commission for the U.S. Semi-Quincentennial, better known as America 250 Ohio. He's going to talk to us a little bit about what that initiative is, what they're going to be planning for the future, and how organizations like OGS and perhaps yours can get involved in that effort. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Todd. I know I learned a lot about the effort, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. Todd, thank you for joining us for the Ohio Roots podcast. I appreciate you coming in person to the library today. I think this is our first in-person interview, so appreciate you coming.
Absolutely my pleasure. Great to be with you.
Thanks. So give us all the background you can on the America 250 Ohio project so people are familiar with it.
Sure. Yeah, I was a young lad back in 1976 when the nation's bicentennial happened, and it really... even though I didn't grow up in a place like Philadelphia or Boston, I was just in Dayton, Ohio, but just growing up around that time with all the activities relating to the bicentennial really did kind of shape my interest in history and even current events, presidents, all kinds of things. And so that really made a memorable impression on me in my youth. And so a couple years ago, when I learned that there is the nation's 250th anniversary coming up in 2026, it really got my attention. And the more I learned about it, the more I thought about utilizing this opportunity coming up in 2026 as a way to bring some people together and hopefully find some ways that can be unifying, at least in some small way. We're going to do lots of activities leading up to 2026, but that's really the main lens I would say I'm using is to think of this as ways to bring some people together all around Ohio. There is a national commission, and every state is hopefully doing something similar to us. Ohio is really embracing this. Governor DeWine is very supportive of this, and so are stakeholders all over the state. So this was created in a couple of state budgets ago, and so anyone who wants to find out more details can find us in the Ohio Revised Code, section 149.309. I won't make you go there to learn about it. I will be glad to.
That's why we have you here.
Give you some context here, but it's a really exciting opportunity. We have a really strong commission who's very engaged in making the most of this opportunity here to lead Ohio's participation in the nation's 250th. It's very important for us to have engagement in all 88 counties of Ohio, and we found that there is strong interest in getting involved and engaged. So we're the good news is we're still fairly early on in that effort, so we're still in public awareness mode. Most people are not thinking about 2026 just yet, or the significance of that. But when I started to learn more about the possibilities for this, I got really excited about it. And so, I have the high honor now of serving as the executive director for it. We've got a small team of 4 people. We've got 30 members on our commission. And we're getting lots of people involved. You don't have to serve on the commission to have an impact or play an important role. We want to get lots of communities interested and doing things at the local level. We're hoping to really make this more of a locally driven effort and having the commission support the work that organizations and people, leaders want to have accomplished at the local level. Mm-hmm. So that's really the big perspective.
And you mentioned it's a national kind of project, right? Where is Ohio?
national.
Where is Ohio in its planning stage related to, say, other states that are doing it?
Sure. Yeah. Although I don't know that expertly, my own observations are that we're seeing a lot of leadership from states like Virginia and Pennsylvania, who got an early start. Mm-hmm. And I think a number of other states you might anticipate, like New York and Massachusetts, New Jersey, they are well along on their way. I might be leaving out some states. Mm-hmm. But I think we're all, still fairly early on making plans, trying to get people involved, make people aware of it, that this is an opportunity coming up. Sometimes it can really be the lens of why now,
right.
For something
Sure.
important that you want to do, thinking about the opportunities between now and 2026. So there is a national commission, and they're going to try to work to support the states. I'm sure that the National Commission will do some things that are, of course, national in scope.
Right.
We will hopefully participate in those things, and look for some opportunities to partner with other states.
Right.
You could look at this as the Great Lakes states.
Okay.
You could also look at this as the states that came out of the old Northwest Territory, and just neighboring states. So there's lots of possibilities.
Right.
And really, therein lies the challenge. There's 1,000 things we could do. What are the right, most strategic things to do?
And I mean, given it's the 250th anniversary of the founding of the nation, we're not talking. You're not talking just exclusively about what was going on in Ohio in 1776.
That is right. I'm glad you mentioned that, Noel. 1776 is in many respects the center of gravity, especially for the original 13 British colonies. Interestingly, the next 3 states that came about were carved out of those original British colonies.
Right.
It wasn't until Ohio was created a whole cloth out of the Northwest Territory, becoming a state in 1803, that we had this new template for how the nation would grow. Mm-hmm. Would new states be equal to the existing states? Mm-hmm. And so back 200 plus years ago, there was a lot that wasn't known, and so we have this unique perspective from Ohio being the first state that didn't start off as a British colony.
Right.
And so that's an interesting way for us to approach all of this, and so we're going to make the most of it.
What kind of, in terms of programming that you've talked about that you're looking at, what are there specific kind of programs that you're hoping that will kind of coalesce around the effort?
Yeah, there's a number of things we're looking at. I mentioned the Northwest Territory. We think that that is a often forgotten founding document from that era. And so we're hoping to take an educational approach to reminding Ohioans and Americans of the significance of the Northwest Ordinance. We're also thinking about the founding era, if you will. There's a lot we could do regarding the 7,000 plus Revolutionary War veterans who are buried in the state of Ohio. And so we're hoping genealogists and organizations like the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Sons of the American Revolution, are going to help steer what kinds of things we can do to help tell those stories that might not be so well known. And also maybe make some physical improvements, maybe some markers need to be put up, maybe some headstones need to be replaced, things of that nature. And just also coming at this from an educational standpoint, too, and reminding us of the importance of the Northwest Ordinance and what that represented at that time. And but your comment a moment ago about this isn't all just about 1776 is important. In fact, we often say, with 250, we're hoping to show how Ohio and Ohioans have made contributions to the nation's history the past 250 plus years. Mm-hmm. And that plus is very important because there were American Indian tribes here for thousands of years prior to 1776. They're a big part of this story, and all of those ways that Ohio has contributed to the nation's history and helped shape the future So we're really looking at this holistically, but it is kind of centered in the early history of both the United States and Ohio.
Right.
So we have a broad canvas in which to paint, so to speak.
Well, I think one thing that's fascinating to me, as the OGS executive director, is the idea that we have over 80 chapters of OGS scattered all across the state of Ohio that offer their own educational programming, their own educational learning opportunities for people about genealogy. But not surprisingly, a lot of genealogy deals with things like you're talking about. So for me, it seems like a really neat and unique opportunity for us as an organization to leverage the Ohio 250 experience in order for us to get a little more exposure.
For sure. Yeah, we often talk about how, we don't have to go out and invent a bunch of new things.
Right.
We can hopefully connect some dots and build on the successful programs and work that is already being done, is being done all over the state of Ohio. Really tap into that energy and help showcase that. And, what can the America 250 Ohio Commission do to help support those efforts? And as I say, sometimes we can be the reason why now, or why in the time between now and 2026. So there's so much we could potentially do. And we don't have to be, hip deep into the details of what local organizations want to do. We're hoping that a lot of things will happen locally that I won't even know about because I don't need to know about it. Yeah. So, but we're hoping to, be strategic in how we allocate resources and expertise. So we're going to see what we can do to bring some resources to make some really cool things happen locally. Have you
given thought to how you're going to promote those individual activities that are going on around the state?
We have. One big effort that is just in its early stages is we're encouraging communities to sign up to be an America 250 Ohio community. Okay. And so on our website, which is america250-ohio.org, communities can sign up and say that we're, sort of raising their hand and saying, we're going to participate in America 250 these next few years. And so we're going to, whether it's a city council or a county commission, pass a resolution and say that we're going to participate by creating like a local committee to lead local events and programming, and also designate one or two people to communicate with our state commission. So that's one way through the America 250 Ohio communities. We just recently launched a grants program, and so we're going to have a number of different funding cycles. We're hoping to see a wide range of the kinds of efforts that will be done locally. We hope that local organizations will collaborate and send in some grant proposals that are very creative and come at this in a wide variety of ways. So we're going to support some things through grants, and our commission is a public-private partnership. So right now we're mostly funded by the Ohio General Assembly and the state support. We're going to be ramping up some support from the private sector in the coming months. So we're pretty early on in that, but we're hoping to get some corporate involvement and engagement that can lead to some other non-state dollars to help supplement the work going on around Ohio. So it's really an exciting time. We're still fairly early on, and I often tell people, we're not waiting around for 2026 to just happen all of a sudden. We're really trying to create a runway leading up to 2026. Because if we wait till 2025 to start making plans, it's probably a little too late. So it's really important for us to get the word out now. And you mentioned the local chapters. We're such a great way for us to collaborate and to encourage those organizations to be thinking today about what would make sense for them to do between now and 2026.
And again, as you pointed out, what they do doesn't necessarily have to be tied to the American Revolution or 1776.
Correct. Yeah.
And when we think about Ohioans, and you talk about the role of Ohio and the importance of Ohio in the creation of America, there are millions of Ohioans left Ohio to go live in California and Texas and elsewhere over the course of their lives. So that Ohio history and that Ohio kind of story is just outside more than just Ohio. So I think I think our chapters are going to really embrace the idea of doing programming that highlights their individual communities' importance in that story, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
The Ohio Roots podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Genealogical Society, the premier gateway for discovering your Ohio family history. To learn more about joining, visit www.ogs.org.
If you enjoy listening to the Ohio Roots podcast, we would really appreciate it if you could go to whatever platform it is that you listen and give us a good review. Reviews help us get more listeners and reach more people with Ohio Roots and what we're trying to do with the Ohio Genealogical Society. So please, leave us a nice review, and thanks for listening. You did talk, we've talked before about Route 250.
Yes.
And your idea about Route 250, I think, I want to bring it up, and I want to give you a chance to talk about it, because I think we have chapters really from where 250 starts to where it ends.
Yes.
And I think it'd be important for them to hear about what you're thinking.
That has really struck a chord with me. So glad you mentioned that, Noel, because I am really excited about the possibilities of theming the work of America 250 with U.S. Route 250. And I will admit that I didn't really pay much attention to U.S. Route 250 before having this role. But I'll tell you, once I looked at that more comprehensively and saw all the ways that it connects to what we're trying to accomplish these next several years, it was, I'm just so leaning into that. So U.S. Route 250, which I believe the construction on that started in 1926, so we'll be hitting the centennial of that right in 2026. It connects Lake Erie and Sandusky at the northern terminus, and it goes through 9 Ohio counties, goes kind of southeasterly to Lake Erie, and crosses the Ohio River at Bridgeport, goes into Wheeling, West Virginia. So it does, and its end southern point is in Richmond, Virginia. So it goes through 3 states. But here in Ohio, the communities along U.S. Route 250 have such interesting histories. It is scenic in a number of places. There's a couple college towns along the way. It also includes the birthplace of Thomas Edison and innovation, right there on U.S. Route 250. New Philadelphia was platted to look like Philadelphia. Worcester was named for an American Revolutionary War general. The list goes on. There's so many interesting touch points there. And this spring, thinking about all of this, I went knocking on some doors in the spring along U.S. Route 250, borrowing on the legacy of the Ohio Bicentennial Commission. The Ohio Bicentennial happened in 2003, but a lot of Ohioans will recall that they had a barn painted in each Ohio county. And so we're sort of borrowing on that idea. We're not going to have the wherewithal to have a barn painted in every Ohio county. But we think something along those lines, where maybe we have a barn painted in every region of the state, perhaps. But I really wanted the first one to be along U.S. Route 250. So I knocked on a few doors this spring and ultimately ended up partnering with a guy named Joe Rice, who is in Wayne County, close to the close to the Ashland County border there, right on U.S. Route 250, of course. Joe and his family could not have been better partners. They really loved collaborating with us on this. So we ultimately, in June of this year, hired Scott Hagan, who's the barn artist who he did all the bicentennial barns, 20-some years ago. He's made a whole career out of painting barns and similar things. So it just kind of ended up being this great project. And now that is a finished product right there on U.S. Route 250. It serves as a nice anchor for other things to build upon these next few years. So really exciting. It really looks great. I hope you get a chance to see it along U.S. Route 250. There on it would be the western edge of Wayne County, in between Ashland and Worcester.
Okay. What resonates with me about the 250 on 250 kind of idea is the fact that the road in Ohio at least starts in the Ohio River Valley, where the history of Ohio begins, and really in many ways Virginia, since Ohio was considered portions of Ohio were considered part of Virginia and colony, and then carries people westward almost in the way that Ohio developed over time.
Great point.
And also what I love about 250, having driven it myself as well, is when you go from Wheeling, you're in Appalachia. The landscape looks so different than when you get into Worcester.
Yes.
And then when you get into Sandusky, it looks even more different.
Right.
And it's a fascinating kind of microcosm of the Ohio experience as you walk or when you ride that road. So I've always found that to be a really engaging and interesting idea.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it also obviously tells a transportation
Right,
story.
right, yeah.
And I think if you want to learn about Ohio, traveling U.S. Route 250 is a good way to sort of see, as you've pointed out, Noel, the differences, the ways that Ohio has such a variety of things to offer. So there's just so much to like about that. I'm really excited about it.
And it's nice that there are communities along that route who I think will embrace the 250 story as well, because I think it benefits all of us to do that.
Right, yeah. And the history of things like, I didn't mention Norwalk, but the Firelands story.
Sure.
For those of you who are aware of that, that's another component, ties into the American Revolution era. So, we could do a podcast just on U.S. Route 250.
Right, yeah.
I just love that idea, and I think we're going to really make some great things happen these next several years.
So I assume you're on the road a lot lately.
Yes, I'm on the road quite a bit and love it. So I've, previous to having this role, Noel, I was the Director of Community and Government Relations for the Ohio History Connection for a number of years, and so I have been accustomed to traveling the state and building relationships around Ohio. With work relating to Ohio history in some way. So I feel like I'm in now the dream role and hoping to really make the most to connect some dots and really get people to really lean into this opportunity. Governor DeWine has been very supportive of this effort here, and we're just really getting great engagement and interest all over the state.
Great. You mentioned the grant program that you're kind of moving forward with, which as we record this, you just announced it, I think yesterday. I think that's when I got my email. What other projects or efforts are in the immediate future?
Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit about the America 250 Ohio Communities. We just talked about the grants. We did recently just create a new website, so check us out again at america250-ohio.org. And some other things coming down the pike here. We're looking at launching some things. One recent effort is a social media campaign that we're calling 250 of Ohio Favorites. So we're asking people to comment things like such as, what's your favorite, small town in Ohio? We want to come at this in a number of ways. A person from Ohio history, perhaps, but who's your, what's a favorite restaurant or food? We're going to come at this a number of different ways. And, with 250 favorites, we're not going to create a big laundry list and then plop that on social media. Through drips and drabs, we're going to put out a number of ways to get people to be thinking, reminding people about 250, on this
like hashtag runway. Ohio 250 or hashtag 250 Ohio.
So, hashtag America 250 Ohio. So those are some things we're doing this calendar year of 2023. As we look to next year, a few things that we have in mind here. In 2016, some of you may recall that the National Park Service had a fourth grade free admission pass. Fourth grade is typically a time when people are students are learning about history. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking to borrow on that idea and find a way to get fourth graders into places like historic sites and museums around the state. That's something that's in development. We're also looking at introducing some statewide trails. Okay. Again, this is a thing where we don't have to invent it. The historic sites and historical markers, the assets around Ohio, they already exist. We're thinking about identifying those places that relate to things like, say, innovation, a statewide innovation trail, statewide places that touch upon things like presidential history, or even the American Indian chiefs that have Ohio historic ties. Mm-hmm. We're looking at ways, U.S. Military generals. There's a number of different ways to come at this. So we've got a team of people and travel experts who are looking at developing that with us. I think we mentioned earlier about Revolutionary War veterans' graves. Mm-hmm. So that's a thing we're hoping to launch next year. There's already some really good work already being done on that to recognize those 7,000 plus Revolutionary War veterans who are buried here. We're also looking at things like tree plantings, sort of borrowing on the idea of liberty trees. Mm-hmm. I'm not yet sure what we're going to call this, but we're working with people who know a lot more about this than do I. I was recently at Dawes Arboretum, and we have some thought partners there. Also looking to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to partner with us and have tree plantings in all 88 counties. Probably not in a one-size-fits-all way, but there's a lot of energy behind that, and so we're hoping to see that happen. And then, the Ohio Channel is talking with us about something we're calling Ohio Story Hub, where we can have a lot of the digital stories that relate to Ohio history and American history. And one thing that I'll tell you is really exciting is there are already some local film festivals in the state, and we're looking at putting together one that is statewide in nature. So leading up to 2026, any film, documentary, anything along those lines that has an Ohio tie, whether Ohio was the setting of a film, or if it's an old documentary about Ohio, there could be a wide range of things. We think that a statewide film festival, is perhaps even overdue. So we're talking to some people who know this genre pretty well, and so we're going to try to put that together in these next couple of years. And get some places like historic theaters involved. Right.
I was just thinking in my hometown of the Quaker Theater in New Philadelphia, which is a wonderful historic theater.
Yeah, sure is. So there's a lot of potential with that. So those are just some of the things. And again, I think there's going to be local efforts that happen that we might just have a light touch on, perhaps, or there will be local efforts that we don't even know about because we don't need to know about it.
Right.
So
that's great. Well, it sounds like an exciting couple of years ahead for you and for your staff. Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm excited as an organization to be able to take part in it. I think OGS has a lot of resources to bring to bear to support the effort, and I know I look forward to seeing what happens in 2026.
There's so many possibilities, so we're really looking forward to all the collaboration, and as I said earlier on, really looking at this. There's going to be lots of activities, but really for me, at the end of 2026, did we do a good job bringing some people together? Maybe some people that are even not accustomed to working together. We're really hoping that this can be an occasion to bring some people together. So we're really excited about it. Thank you, Ohio Genealogical Society, for your interest in this, and we look forward to partnering with you and your local chapters. There's so many possibilities. So let's make sure we focus on the right ones, and we get some great opportunities queued up for 2026.
Sounds great. Why don't you give the website one more time for folks, and we'll put a link to it when we post the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, we're at America250-ohio.org. So come check us out. Let us know if you have questions, ideas. Let's find a way to work together.
Sounds great, Todd.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Well, it sounds like the 250th anniversary of the United States of America as being celebrated in Ohio is going to be an exciting time period. So I really appreciate Todd coming on and joining us and explaining to us what they're trying to do, how others can get involved. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens here in Ohio as we move forward to 2026. Thank you for listening to the Ohio Roots Podcast. And until next time, have a great day.
The Ohio Roots Podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Genealogical Society, the premier gateway for discovering your Ohio family history. Hosted by OGS Executive Director Noel Poyer and edited by Luke Poyer. Theme song is Beautiful Ohio, recorded by Bob Stanley and his orchestra in 1944. To learn more about joining the Ohio Genealogical Society, visit www.ogs.org.